I have them in the play-in section, like the 8 through 11. I have them. I see them missing the playoffs, unfortunately. I just think they're going to blow it up. I really think Harden's going somewhere else. Wall and Cousins are going to be the best players on that team after Harden's gone.
If DeMarcus Cousins can recapture the Kings form, they're there.
They'd be in the playoffs. The Rockets are worth talking about a little bit because they made such a dramatic shift. They still have James Harden, who it's really hard to discount James Harden. That's where I have them in the play-in section, like the 8 through 11. I have them. I see them missing the playoffs, unfortunately. I just think they're going to blow it up. I really think Harden's going somewhere else. And Wall and Cousins are going to be the best players on that team after Harden's gone.
Yeah.
And I don't like that sort of thing. I like Christian Wood, but I just don't see the Rockets doing that well this season. How do you feel?
Yeah, it's concerning looking at the Rockets roster and where they go from here. They've given up a fair bit over the last couple of seasons to make the team better, and James Harden has put a stop to it each time, which worries me because when are you ever going to get a guy happy if he's not happy with players like Chris Paul and Russell Westbrook?
Anyone
trying to make it work.
When's he going to be happy?
Yeah. I feel bad for Houston, but yeah, I think the only answer there would be to just start from scratch.
They did manage to pick up Christian Wood, who you love.
I love Christian
a little bit
Wood.
more than I do, although I really like him.
His analytics are off the charts.
Yeah,
he
good piece to get.
Especially on a Pistons roster that was so bad last year.
He was a rose that grew out of concrete.
Yeah.
I think Christian Wood could have a breakout season. Like he's had
more so than last season.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with you.
He'll have starters minutes.
Yeah, he could be most improved.
Yeah.
He's right up there in that conversation, I think, this season. And depending on what the Rockets do offensively, they could start to move the ball a bit more with a new coach. It could be less of ISO ball for Harden, and they could start moving the ball around, giving other guys an opportunity. So I'm interested to see what they have.
I would totally expect a different style of play.
Yeah.
I still love PJ Tucker. I think he might get traded to a contender if this team starts to go south.
I agree.
Because that's the type of attitude he will have.
Yeah.
He'll say, I'm not playing for some bottom dweller. Whatever the team is at the bottom of either conference. He wants to go somewhere where he's going to win. I also wanted to talk a little bit about the Daniel House thing that happened in the bubble. Like this team, I just don't like the makeup of it. And then you have that sort of storyline in there.
Just recap.
He was a very important piece, and then he got in trouble because he brought someone into the bubble, and he kind of got ostracized from the team a little bit because it felt like a bit of a betrayal.
Yeah, and
it just created chemistry issues. It could have led to the ultimate, fairly quick exit they had in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think that goes back to what I was saying earlier. There's teams that were there for business.
Yeah.
And there's other teams that didn't take it that seriously, and the Rockets were one of them. They just...
Not serious enough.
They didn't take it seriously. It was just, you've got to be switched on the whole time you're in a situation like that because there are other guys there who want it more. And
exactly.
I think it showed at the end of the day that, they just weren't that quality a team. And
they really weren't.
I'm really interested to see what kind of lineup they run out with. Do they even start John Wall? Like, how much is John Wall going to play into that roster? It's interesting to me to look at the amount of guys they have who can play the 4 and the 5. Where are they going to go with that? Does PJ hold on to his spot? PJ Tucker? Does PJ Tucker hold on to his spot? Do they start DeMarcus Cousins? Do they start Christian Wood? Do they move Christian Wood to the 4? Do they play Cousins at the 5? Does PJ come off the bench? There's a lot of switchability in and around that roster. So, yeah, look, it's an interesting roster. I like David Nwaba defensively. I'm curious to see what kind of season he has, whether they even bring him in.
I honestly don't know much about David Nwaba. It's interesting you bring him up.
Athletic and very good defensively.
Okay.
That's pretty much it for David Nwaba.
He's an athlete. Okay, fair enough.
Yep.
They have getting rid of
Eric Gordon.
I kind of like Eric Gordon, but he's also
overpaid.
Been hit or miss, overpaid a little bit. Yeah. They have an interesting roster. I think it's going to get blown up. I just look at this and I go, this doesn't look like it's heading anywhere great.
Yeah, I think they added a lot of pieces in the hope that James Harden would be like, oh, yeah, they've done something.
Oh, yeah, Cousins.
They've done something here. If DeMarcus Cousins can recapture the Kings form, they're there.
They'd be in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I like Cousins as a Kings player. I didn't like Cousins as anything post Achilles. Like, nothing on him.
He was pretty good on the Pelicans.
Yeah, he was.
So he wasn't bad on the Pelicans, but that was never going to work, having Cousins and Davis. AD. It's just that was a mess. But yeah, I like the moves that they made this offseason. But I don't think it's enough to keep Harden on the roster, nor should it be. I think that they need to blow it up now, take what they can get for Harden, cash in on their most valuable asset, and try and hit a hard reset. Maybe try to get off some of those ugly contracts like Eric Gordon.
I just think even from an attitude side of thing here, like DeMarcus Cousins and James Harden are a bit malcontent. They're a bit they can get up to some chicanery with their attitude towards various things. John Wall is fairly professional. PJ Tucker to me is a consummate professional, but I just don't like the mix here. I'm sorry, Rockets fans. It's just, this doesn't look good this year. But the silver lining is that they might be able to move their pieces, get some good stuff back for Harden, if that's what they do. Or they might find some random trade that ends up making them better and keeping Harden. So don't know what's really going to happen there.
Yeah.
A lot of uncertainty.
There's so much up in the air with that Houston roster. Hard reset is the answer for me.
It feels like it.
Just hit a hard reset and go again. I can see them falling into the play-in. They're going to struggle to make the playoffs because we don't know what we're going to get with John Wall.
Yeah.
I like the moves they made. If they can implement the right offense, then they're a chance of playing some really good basketball.
No doubt.
They've added a lot of good players. So it just really depends on those question mark guys like DeMarcus Cousins and John Wall.
Yeah, absolutely.